Imagine that at birth you are hated and judged not by your actions but by your robber. Now imagine that all your life you have been free and in the blink of an eye you are a slave, and your fault is to exist. In this piece of history, we want to share with you one of the most violent displays of racism and hatred towards humanity, and how a movement managed to overthrow a system that denied the freedom of its own people, the anti-apartheid movement. Apartheid, separation in Africans, was a system of laws that discriminated against the black population and ceded power to the white minority in the South African country. But before we delve deeper, let's talk about its origin. The origins of the apartheid lies in the colonization of the African continent by the hands of Europe. After the invasion of the Hollanders on the southern coast of Africa, it was already being made a difference between races due to the descendants of Hollander colonists, the Afrikaners. But it was not until the arrival of the British when the racism concept marked its day. After the British won the war in 1902, a peace treaty was signed with the Afrikaners, which separated the black society from their civic rights and roles as citizens.
Protagonist of the movement. In the fight against apartheid, it is essential to mention the icon of this movement, Nelson Mandela. Since these new laws were introduced in the political system of South Africa, he was involved as the organizer of various protests to defend the right of the black race. At first, these acts of civil disobedience were peaceful, but then turned into violent actions. That's why Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment. However, he was released by the government in 1990. To continue contributing to the fight of South Africa and put down the apartheid, he became president of South Africa until 1999. Finally, he disappeared from public life in 2004.
At this time, the government implemented a series of laws to segregate the black population, getting them away from political power, taking away the right of vote, and all of this to isolate them socially. Losing their freedom, they are subjected to all kinds of humiliations. The streets, restaurants, transport, and even public buildings were segregated, with special entrances and areas for black and some of them only for white people, systematically violating the human rights of this part of the population. Because of this, the segregated communities took the streets to protest. But peaceful protest and civil disobedience will be present in those times, and as has happened around the world, when the people are present in the streets, police brutalities comes to light. Massacres, beatings, and indiscriminate arrest will be the way to repress the population. Meanwhile, the international community be on hold at the time by a great bipolar war between capitalists and communists. This will allow these barbarians to establish a geopolitical dominance. The countries of the capitalist Western Bloc, leading the United States, will provide support to South Africa only to counterbalance South African goal with the Soviet goal. The desperate cries of men, women, and children seeking equality began to be heard around the world, but the final blow is present from the least expected place. With the fall of the Soviet Union and communism collapsing, the Cold War is over, causing a loss of interest in these lands on the part of the anti-communist bloc. International pressure is intensifying as no one intends to do business with South Africa due to its racist policies, causing an economic crisis. With the country collapsing, the only solution is to negotiate. Mandela is released, and along with that, policies begin to change.
Hi there, this is Martin Ahumada, and I'm gonna show you the final part of the anti-apartheid social movement video. So let's go. Well, why is this process so important? Well, it is so important because it gives equality of rights between black and white people that were not respected since 1948. That was the year that apartheid was created. So the second point that is really relevant, exactly than the first one, it is freedom. The freedom to express, to make social interactions between black and white people. So now people could have relationships between black and white people. So this is so relevant because the society were split between decades. So let's go to the conclusion and let's go there. Well, all this process shows to the world that despite all the differences between ethnic minorities, you can have an United Nations between peace and non-violence. That is the most important point of all, I think. So I'm gonna show you a phrase of Nelson Mandela that is so important too, to give a message of non-violence. That is, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Well, that's all our video. I hope that you enjoy and see you later.